Alright, hey guys, welcome back to Internet Tomato, where we dive deep into the dark, twisted, and epic lore of Tainted Grail. I shall be your guide to unraveling the mysteries of Avalon. Today, we are continuing our lore series by going over the final days in Camelot, leading to the Exodus to Avalon. This video intends to be a balance for new players and fans alike, ensuring everyone walks away with more knowledge. Keep in mind that the lore is still developing, as Tainted Grail has games planned for the future to supplement what we know, and things are somewhat subject to change. In this video, spoilers are sprinkled throughout, so watch at your own risk if you want to experience the story for yourself. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, or you might just get turned into a men here. So, last we left off, we discussed Arthur's reign in Camelot from the citadel of Camelot. Arthur had many ups and downs in his time as king, but his legacy and fame spread through all the homelands. There was no one more noble, self-sacrificing, or humble than the Fisher King. It all culminated with the Red Death, the Pale Lady urging him wailfully to meet her in Avalon. The Red Death spread around the world in a heartbeat, and things became dire in a matter of a single day. Arthur, plagued by visions of the Pale Lady, decided to heed her cries and make for Avalon. Now, before I continue, I need to explain that I am making an assumption in this video that Morane and Kai are actually not the same person. I could be in the minority of that view from the people I've talked to, and I have waffled on this as well. The reasons they could be the same person is that in the lore, both are called Arthur's half-sister, both created the Island Asylum, both had a hand in the founding of the Red Church, and Awakened Realms tends to give one character two identities. As I go over the retelling, I will say Kai when the lore says Kai, and Morane when it says Morane. When it is ambiguous, I will just say Arthur's sister. The reasons why I think at this point that they are different people will be seen in the following lore videos, but the two biggest reasons are that Morane and Kai appear to have left Camelot at different times, and also because in a document in the history of the Island Asylum, Kai and Morane are referenced as two different people, both aiding in the asylum's founding. So, let's get into this. Even with the goal of heading to Avalon in mind, the situation was dire, with nearly a third of the populace as vicious husks, another third protected by Camelot, and the remaining citizens cowering in their homes, hoping to hide away from the monsters. The greatest nation was falling to its knees. The streets were littered with those affected by the Red Death. It was questionable whether Arthur could reach Avalon at all, but he did have a plan. He commanded the Round Table to organize, clearing the way to the port district, while he sent missives to all the kingdoms of the homelands. He informed the various kings, queens, and chieftains that there was a way out of this mess. Of course, keeping the part about the Pale Lady to a minimum, he told them that there is a magical island with a cure to the Red Death, and urged them to trust him. He would use Camelot's port as a rallying point for all the nations to depart from. Despite the questions and vague explanations, many listened in the dire circumstances, knowing Arthur to be trustworthy. Still, sailing could take months for the other kingdoms to arrive. Camelot and the port district became two strongholds in Camlan, holding the plague and the husks at bay. Arthur's half-sister made trips between Camelot and central Camlan, struggling to balance her loyalties to the Red Church, Mordred, and her brother Arthur. While in Camelot, she took pity on Arthur, who received incessant visions from the Pale Lady. Kai, when close to Arthur, sensed the visions too, and once they began for her, they never stopped. Though many on the Round Table thought Arthur may have gone mad, Kai knew the truth. She too felt the pull to Avalon. However, she felt a second pull, somewhere in the homelands where the Red Death had run its course. Kai thought that maybe she could find some answers. The Round Table found Arthur and Kai's visions to be ludicrous, but since Arthur had not yet led them astray, they were conflicted. The situation was dire, but they stayed by their king. One knight, whom I did not mention in the last episode, Sir Estor, supported Kai in her desire to go where she thought she could find the heart of the plague. Estor is a little bit of a mystery, as he is referenced only here in the lore. Many times in traditional legend, Sir Estor is just another spelling for Sir Ector, Arthur's foster father. Whether they are the same person is unknown, and whether Estor went to Avalon is also unknown at this time. Recruiting Estor, Kai took a ship and sailed to another land. Keeping humanity alive at the edge of a knife, district by district, the Camelotians abandoned the stragglers. As the Red Death victims became hordes in some areas, the healthy few were left behind to survive on their own. Then a strange effect began happening around Camelot's moat. A red miasma grew from the moat as the dead red plague bodies festered and emitted a poisonous gas. Arthur and the Round Table were forced to move and consolidate in the port district. Even worse, Arthur heard word that the Fomorians were coming. With their natural immunity, the Fomorians saw this as the perfect moment to destroy the kingdom of Camlan once and for all. Bracing for war in such a state was impossible, and Arthur realized that they had to leave sooner than he had hoped. He wanted to give the other kingdoms months to arrive, but a Fomorian invasion would make that impossible. With the port district being the last line of defense against the Red Death victims, everywhere else in Camlan was considered lost. Despite this, Morgane refused to give up on finding a cure. She had her heart set on healing the disease. Likely positioned at the port, like Arthur, she had her red priests and personal honor guard attempt to clear portions of the city and restore the streets, but to no avail. Arthur, seeing the destruction, knowing of the coming invasion, and witnessing the incoming miasma, felt the weight of the world. From the piers of Camlan, Kai returned from her expedition. She immediately went to Arthur, telling him of what she saw and felt. Kai was convinced that the Pale Lady and the Red Death were interconnected. She claimed to have seen the heart of the plague, and that this immortal being, the Pale Lady, couldn't help herself. Her heartbreak was too strong and bled into the homelands. Though Arthur likely already believed this when Kai came to him, the urgency in her words was the final push for Arthur to sail away. Many of the surrounding tribes had come, but not nearly as many as he had hoped. Only he could lead the way to Avalon. as only he had a connection to the Pale Lady. The rest of humanity was on their own. Arthur sent a few messages to the fleets arriving soon in what direction he was headed to. That way they would have a chance to meet up with the bulk of the ships. He then sailed away in his flagship, Prydwen, towards Avalon. Only Morane, frustrated with Arthur's refusal to heed her advice or take her work on the cure seriously, stayed behind with her honor guard. Many in the Red Church abandoned her to her hopeless cause, wanting to save themselves. Without the backing of Arthur's Round Table or the army, Morane was pushed back to the piers in the port district. With Esgar, the Protector, who was likely the honor guard captain, the soldiers attempted to give Morane as much time as possible to find a cure. The citizens trapped in Camelot were stuck, as neither Morane nor her honor guard had the means to save them. With an entire city of Red Death husks wanting to destroy the last remnant of humanity, it was only a matter of time before they would be pushed into the sea. Eventually, she too gave up, realizing the situation was hopeless. The solution to the cure was always just out of reach, but she didn't have the time to create it. Following Arthur's fleet, likely through magical means, Morane too abandoned Camelot and the homelands to their fate. She was far behind the fleet and never regrouped with them, but made her way towards Avalon nonetheless. Peculiarly, as she left the people to their fate, she caught a glimpse of one of Camelot's ships returning to Camelot, the flag of the House of the Pendragons flapping at the top of its mast. It is not known which knight or captain decided to return home. My best guess is either Sir Kay or the unnamed child of Sir Ector, but their story is for another time. The journey to Avalon was long and arduous. Hundreds of ships, hailing from all the corners of the homelands, followed King Arthur blindly. Some on the voyage had the Red Death, but it was either benign or became far less dangerous or contagious than it had been back in Camelot. However, over the coming weeks, supplies dwindled. Now, what was left of humanity had to survive the elements out at sea, with many other diseases taking hold. Though the original number of citizens was likely in the hundreds of thousands, if not reaching 1 million, only 4 out of every 10 survived the seas. The rest succumbed to starvation, disease, or storms. On their last legs, the people grew hopeless, and many turned to their gods for comfort. Resentment and frustration arose as the length of the journey had never been known, and none had the supplies for such a long sea voyage. Then, one day, King Arthur on the Prydwen stood upon the deck, pleasantly dressed as though anticipating an event. In the distance, an island of fog loomed. The travelers felt a rush of emotion. There was finally land, but it looked alien. The mist of this island looked tangible, as though it had a weight to it. It swirled and moved in impossible ways, but Arthur was unfazed, immediately calling to the captain to make for the beach, while the rest of the fleet remained at a safe distance. To the onlooker, Arthur appeared as if he knew that this mysterious fog would be here. One of the Marines, named Seawall, a loyal friend to Arthur, looked upon the swirling mist and insisted that Arthur wouldn't be the first to set foot on this island. It was far too dangerous for King Arthur to risk exposure. Arthur agreed to let Seawall go with him if it comforted his friend to bear the uncertainty first. The waters leading to the beach were treacherous, with jagged rocks appearing to shift with the waves. Tentatively, Seawall hopped onto the shore, his two-handed axe gripped tight, as there was no telling what could be lurking beyond. From that moment onward, he was known as Seawall Firstfoot, for he was the first to set foot on Avalon. He breathed in the fog, which felt strange in his lungs, but not harmful. The sharp cries of seagulls drift from above, unlikely music for such a momentous occasion. Regardless, they filled the people crammed tight on the deck of the Prydwen with hope. The birds are reminiscent of those plentiful in the homelands. If these birds can thrive here, among these strange and colorful mists, maybe the people can as well. The sand crunches under the prow of the ship as 24 sailors pull it onto the beach of a quiet cove. A gangplank touches the ground. The king steps onto wet sand, a gaunt, solemnly dressed man, his beard speckled with white. "Let this be our first step of many," he says, too quietly for any historian to take note of his words. He then commands, "Bring the fleet ashore." As King Arthur gives his order, thick clouds of weirdness on the horizon part for a moment. Knights and highborn gasp, looking upon a giant wall of strange porous stone in the far distance. The king doesn't raise an eyebrow. He knew they wouldn't be alone on Avalon, but he also knows humans have an ally here, which he has yet to see in person. As Arthur looks toward Tuathan, something looks back from atop the wall, a flickering apparition, its countless eyes on the palms of its countless hands, blinking in and out of existence. Just a moment ago, the creature witnessed the end of this story, 1,000 years from now. And now, it's torn. Should it allow this thing to unfold? And if not, can it prevent the true guardians of Avalon from being born? Knowing each second of a millennium of the bitter struggle to follow, it has no choice but to try. Well, I couldn't possibly top what Awakened Realms wrote when they first landed, and I won't even try. It was a perfect way to end the episode. In the next one, we'll dive into the beginning days of humanity living on Avalon, leading to the start of the Age of Legends. For now, please like, subscribe, join our Discord for random polls and Tainted Grail chats. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys. I hope you have a great day, and I really do hope to see you guys in the next one. So yeah, see you later. Bye-bye.